The results could have been dangerous for such a state model, as Germany or Italy, as demonstrated in the context of the greatest stress any national community can be under, war. And in terms of the factional element, I'm talking particularly in the case of people like Martin Bormann or Himmler or others like that who were seeking to overthrow the state, whether it was legitimate or not, Uh, um, the greatest stress any national community can be under: war, invasion, destruction, and dissolution of the current state. So it is a overt demonstration that a human being is more than just the historical context or influence of different political memes. However, somehow people find some moral to resource to rebuild through physical effort and a rational systematic process to rebuild their civilizations. It shows the depths of national and Western civilization cultural meme as tools to rebuild a livable world where happiness can be pursued and sometimes found. Struggles for independence and self-determination, which of course they rejected when they became imperialists during World War Two. I'm referring to the National Socialists there. There are of course claims and counterclaims about the defensive or offensive nature of this imperialism due to the context of World War One and geographic and political competition with the traditional imperial powers such as Britain and France, and the new dominant empire of the Soviet Union, and the fear of that dominance becoming a global genocide. And that's what most intellectuals in Germany feared before World War Two and before 1933. In this case, in this historical struggle, National Socialists focus on the individuals who had achieved excellence or changed the course of history. This was their view of history, which they saw as usually a cycle until such a person created a new path. Modern historical analysis have used different terms such as elements of previous synthesis combined to create a new synthesis. Synthesis is two parts combined together which make something greater than those parts. So the meme of socialism, with its roots in Stoic and Epicurean ideas, as well as the emergence of unions from the guild system, combined with nationalism that was based on the heroic elements of Western civilization and totalitarian and Keynesian military and civil methods of organisation, combined with non-Western absolutism, with religious iconography and totalitarian Freudian methods of propaganda, with the unique personality of Hitler. Obviously, the magnitude of influence of any of these elements is debatable. The Roman meme is, in terms of imagery, as well as the concept of power of the leader and community, are elements of the Roman meme as a strand of Western civilization which inspired both Napoleon and Hitler as dictators, in the traditional Roman sense of a leader with absolute power in a time of crisis, either real or manufactured. And other leaders in Italy to unite the warring city-states, to unite Italy to become to the glory of antiquity, thereby being defined as patriotic freedom fighters and fathers of their country. Outside of European continental history, Rome also inspired as much as the Anglo-Saxon and Nordic Celtic identity, the Enlightenment Epicureans Thomas Paine and Thomas Jefferson to make America in the image of Rome, with the language and science of England. Which, of course, if you see this in the attempt by, that was encapsulated there. Which, of course, if you see this as an attempt by Marxists to capture terms' subjective meaning by changing the meaning of nation or society to proletariat, which, of course, is a narrow group interest in national society, but is spun as a way to unite mankind through the paradox of creating the height of atomistic feudalist capitalism, which in turn, by continuing the violent struggle against capitalists, the dominant group who holds capital, the proletariat will attain class awareness and develop the perfect end state, a dictatorship of the proletariat and an atomistic, non-competitive communalism. Marxism thus has to conceal all these paradoxes, hopes for chance and spontaneous action by different actions, and the flaws of a cycle of violence in a context of a society that has been brutalised by feudalistic capitalism, which has hardened the situation into a civil war between castes. Marx does not account for capitalists creating caste systems which cause exploitation within and without castes in a hierarchy of castes. You could take the example of India now or in the past as an example. Marx instead simplifies the situation by a theme by a them and us situation of all the proletariat against the ruling class. The outcome of this, as demonstrated in other survival situations, is that those engaged in killing become, because of their lack of reason and empathy, co-opt and corrupt the majority into a cycle of exploitation and violence. The classes, in short, will cascade onto one another as one power group attains control of capital and is then outed as an oppressor class by those who are not in control, or not enslaved by the ruling class, and the ruling class is whichever class controls capital. So the danger of Marxism as a meme is its suicidal nature. Just like other totalitarian religions, it seeks to change the meaning of terms, like keys to doors of understanding and meaning, are psychologically controlled by those in control of the indoctrination process. In this case, education becomes a tool not for knowledge, but to remove enemies of the meme of Marxism. As is seen in many communist countries in particular, all those who could read and write followed allowing themselves to interpret, critique and make a rational analysis of the situation, context and plan a rational solution. They and their families and associates, sometimes whole towns and cities, are either killed or, in terms of Marxism's main weapon, excluded from debate by Marxists, changing the meaning of terms and words so that the rational seem odd and reactionary, in short, as heretics to the new state religion of Marxism. Methods have also been used by other totalitarian groups who borrowed the methods or who are allied to Marxism in its goals but have different group interests. You can see this in forms of Zionism or National Socialism, which want to dominate through the prism through which history is seen and thus the conclusions drawn from it.